Dear faithful, some of you are asking me about this declaration of Bishop Fele of yesterday. You know, this strong declaration of fidelity to the position of Archbishop Lefebvre. Indeed, it's an interesting text because most of it is pretty good, I would say. You know, except one passage where they surmise that Rome is going to may allow them to criticize modernism from inside the Novus Ordo Church. But even if you may say the letter of the text is not all that bad, I haven't combed through the details of the text yet. But what is the most worrying thing is the fact that this text is alongside its opposite, the doctrinal declaration of April 15th, which is maintained in the Coronum of March 2013, which is endorsed by the Coronum of March 2013. So it's just my guess. My guess is the author of this declaration is Bishop Tissin Malray, most likely, with a few amendments by Bishop Fele, like the insertion of the paragraph that says, if Rome allows us, whether Rome allows us to criticize Vatican II and the new Mass from inside the Church, or whether they don't. That inside, that's not Bishop Tissin Malray. I would not think so. The text sounds pretty much like Bishop Tissin Malray. But that's precisely the problem. The problem, that is this double talk and this contradiction. That we have a double message, a double talk, this letter number 80 to the Friends and Benefactor, and the Coronum, which is published at the same time. And so in the XSPX, you have those priests who are still not liberal, and so we are wondering, can I still attend the Mass of those priests? My answer is kind of yes, the Amber Light, yes. But there are the other priests who are liberal priests and who are in favor of a deal with Rome and so on and so forth, and who have this new message. Can I attend to the Mass of this priest? And there I would say no, don't go there. Don't go there because they are liberal and they are going to mislead you. And that's the whole tragedy of our time. It's the pale horse of the apocalypse, which is neither black nor white. So it's black and white. So it's not fully black, They are not bringing the altar girl, but it's not fully white anymore. It's not anymore the entire message. And that's what's so terrible. And the rider of this horse, the name of the rider of this horse is death. Because it's not fully white. And also, see very much how much in the past with the, for instance, the Ecclesia Dei Commission, the devil launched an organization which is for the destruction of tradition, but which looks very traditional. It has all the trappings of tradition. If you go on the website of, I went recently on the website of the Institute of Christ the King, it's wonderful, all those laces and birrettas, and those, I don't know how you call that thing you put on the shoulders, and the cassocks with a special string to keep the sash, perfectly right, the fringes, and the beautiful seminary in Florence is magnificent, and their great hospitality when you go there, how well you are received, and it's wonderful. It looks very traditional. Or the big castle in Spain, in Virginia, that they are building, You look at the presentation of the seminary, it looks very traditional, it looks very nice. How beautiful, Or the ceremonies in the Gregorian chant in Fongombo, in the Abbey of Fongombo. It's the best Gregorian chant. It's better even than Solem. They sing very well. And with a little accompaniment of organ in the background, but which is not disturbing the beauty of the chant. And I think Fongombo sings better than anyone else. They are the best. as far as Gregorian chant. They really do a fine job. Beautiful. And so there is such a thing as a pious devil. But I would say there is also such a thing as a, doctrinally strong devil. That, at times, he is very, it looks like very nice, very strong. But the tail of the devil is always there. You will always find, the tail of the devil. So in the text, there is a tail. There is this paragraph that we have already noticed. I haven't yet combed through the text. But there is that paragraph, no, that's not good. How is it possible that Pope Francis would allow us to come in, be recognized, with a full right to attack Vatican II just as we do right now? How is that possible? It's one of the main liberal illusions. The illusions of the liberal is that we're going to go inside, we're going to fight them from inside. Let's go inside of their castle and finish them off one by one inside of their castles. Which is a massive illusion. That was a big illusion of Don Gérard in 1988. Let's go inside and fight them from inside, because there we'll have a nice fighting position. No, it's you don't swim with the crocodiles. You don't jump with the sharks. You don't fish by jumping in the water. No way. But that it's a little paragraph. It's not much compared to the other lines, which are pretty much at first reading it looks pretty much like the position of Archbishop Lefebvre. Why? Because the audience needs to be reassured. You need to reassure the audience. There is a problem. Many people don't contribute financially anymore to the XSPX. Many priories are in the red. In France, that's what at least I've been told. In France, many priories are in the red. And then you need to reassure your constituency, like in normal politics. You need to reassure the people that you are as before. That nothing has changed, that everything is under control. And so that's why you need to state. When I met Bishop Fele in Menzingen, he said, "I am against the new Mass, and I am against Vatican II. I know what I think. Don't I know better than you what is in my head? Why do you make me say something which I don't say when I tell you here and now that I am against Vatican II?" Then I asked him, if you are against Vatican II, why did you say what you said on the CNS interview? That the notion of religious liberty is a very limited one, And many errors of the Council that we thought were the errors of the Council are not errors of the Council, but of the common understanding of it. And his reply was, I was talking to the American public. And the American public puts the religious liberty to the high heavens. So I was talking to these people. So when I'm talking to you, Father Chazal, I am against Vatican II. And why do you say that I'm against Vatican II and I know what I think? But when I'm talking to the American public, these people put the notion of religious liberty sky high. So, I've got to understand these people. And then he said the phrase, and I'm still resenting Father Cellini because he refused to put this in his transcript. But I was taking note at the end because I was suspecting some foul play, and I wrote it down. It's in my original. And he said the foundation is a recipientis. That is the receiver. That is the one who is hearing you. The foundation of the discourse is a recipientis. That's what he said. That's what he told me. And I told in the car to Father Cellini, I am doing what I do because what I heard. That thing. And I was glad I went to Menzingen to hear it from the horse mouth. And that confirms me that I am doing the right thing. Because we have here, a split tongue, a split discourse. And I told Bishop Williamson, I says, watch and see what they're going to do on the 27th. They're gonna make one of the most anti-liberal piece of declaration that, or piece of proclamation that you can expect. They're gonna do it, and they did it precisely. Because he's talking to his base. He's got to reassure them. And then Bishop Williamson told us, that Father de Cacré asked Bishop Fellé, why did you write, unfortunately, the modified AFD will not pass? Why did you say unfortunately? Which means, I wish with you that the modified declaration by Cardinal Evada would be accepted in the society so that we could have a deal. Why did you write that phrase? And Bishop Fellé immediately retorted, I was talking to the Pope. I was not talking to you, Father de Cacré, I was talking to the Pope. And that's the whole problem. That's the whole problem. And that's why we are asking the saint of the day, St. Peter and Paul. Those saints, who were sent by our Lord to tell people, what they didn't want to hear. Like St. Paul, St. Paul says things that the crowd doesn't want to hear, and you can see the crowd of the Jews, and they wanted to kill him. It's in the Acts of the Apostles. The discourse of St. Stephen as well. They went to Rome, and Rome welcomed them. Wonderful, your Jesus is great, let's put him in the Pantheon. They were invited to put, a statue of Jesus in a Pantheon, alongside everybody else, Buddha, and all the... Because the Romans at that time were very much inclined to worship with the Egyptian gods. So Apis, Isis, and all the other guys, And so if you put Jesus alongside that, it looks really nice. And it seems that, they said something over there that didn't please the Roman high society. And it ended up, by a Christian hanging like living torches for the Nero's, burning of Rome. So that's the problem, and that's what we are. The grace we are asking from Saint Peter and Paul is the grace to stand for the truth, no matter who is listening to us. Now, of course, we can be polite, we can be kind in the way we say it, but it has to be said. That one discourse. And as we are here, we don't have the guarantee that we cannot succumb to the same disease that we are noticing right now, because 10 years ago, or before 1999 or before 2000, Bishop Fellé was clearly evidencing that those who have left the society or left Archbishop Lefebvre had this double discourse, and then we had to have a unified discourse. So Bishop Fellé was talking like I'm talking to you today, 13 years ago, and we did enjoy, his clarity of his speech, all the comments he made about Campos. Those were, good comments. Just like basically the same thing I'm talking to you right now. So 13 years from now, I can do the same, because these are the pits, the smoke of the apocalypse, this indifference, the confusion, the disorientation, the shiftiness, which is there, the fickleness, and that is causing so much disorientation and scattering of the sheep, an amazing disorientation. That's quite something. So I'm quite amazed. I'm quite amazed at the dichotomy between this text and the April 15th declaration, which is still maintained, or this text and the declaration of the General Chapter of 14th of July 2012. I'm quite amazed that between this text and the CNS interview, or this text and the other quotes of Bishop Fellé, we go along with 95% of the council. That's the in the newspaper, of the Swiss newspaper, and it was in Dici in 2001. Or the declaration in 2008, where they say we go along with all the councils, including Vatican II, for which we have a few reservations. And then they had to backpedal on this and change the text. Or the remark of Bishop Fellet about the Mass of Paul VI, celebrated in Florence, that the Cardinal heard him saying, you know, Cardinal Canizares. So how do you reconcile this text with this remark? That's my question. That text is overall is nice. Well, without this paragraph, but maybe that text is okay, or maybe it's written by Bishop Tissin Malray, who, you know, who dutifully wrote that thing. But also it's a maneuver, you know, because if you ask Bishop Tissin Malray to write this declaration for the use of, you know, the 27th of June, for the use of the 25th anniversary, then you reassure Bishop Tissin Malray that no compromise is made. You reassure, you know, all those priests, and then they are paralyzed, you know, because then they get a fresh reassurance that nothing is happening. Whereas no, the reassurance you need is the condemnation, you know, the exact retractation. That is that statement that I've made, saying that the errors of Vatican II are not errors of Vatican II, but of the common understanding. That statement is false, and I condemn it and retract it. That's what you call a retractation. That would be a reassurance. It's not enough simply to make the contrary statement. It's not enough. You have to vomit. You have to vomit the poison which is inside, because that poison is inside. It has to be vomited. It's a little bit like an exorcism. Which is what we do, for instance, for the Novus Ordo Church. We ask them, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, to vomit the new Mass, to vomit the Council of Vatican II, to vomit that thing which is inside and which is destroying the Catholic Church from inside. It has to be, it has to come out, because it's still in. The 6 conditions of the chapter are still in, and they are still in force. They are the new law of the Society of St. Pius X. No question about it. That's the new economy of the Society of St. Pius X. It's written in the marble. So you take a hammer and you break this marble plate that has replaced the 2006 principle, which is not in force anymore, by an official admission. And so this, also for the liberals, this little paragraph is a link to the principle of the general chapter of 2012. It's a link. It's a reassurance. Yes, you know, we are anti-liberal and everything, but still, don't worry, the contents of the general chapter are still in force. There is always, the devil, you know, is busy with his hands and he cannot keep his tail between his legs all the time. So the tail always, you know, shows up, you know, in the text. Always. You can always find it, eventually. But you have to pay attention. The devil is pretty tricky, you know. So he places his mask, but sometimes it's not perfectly adjusted, you know. It's like the wolf, you know, the wolf puts sheep clothing and everything, but still, you know, he tries to smile at you, but if he smiles at you, then the big teeth appear. It's a problem. So he's got to close his mouth again, you know, but, you know, the little red, Riding Hood, you know, she's noticed for a few seconds, you know. So it always happens like that. And also another sign is that nothing is said about the new church, or not much is said about the new church. Now we complained about Dici, the pink glasses of Dici. Now I must admit, recently they put 2 posts against Pope Francis. Well, the most important one is the interview between Pope Francis and the primate of the schismatic Anglican Church, who came with his wife in the Vatican, you know, and then the scandal, it was a big scandal. And that was posted in Dici. So I noticed that Dici is not The pink glasses have now a little layer of black. All right, but it remains overall. It remains pink glasses. You know? It's not the way it was. And how long is that? There was also another post in the sspx.org. They put a post, you know, a fairly good analysis on Pope Francis. But then a few days later, it was withdrawn from the main page, and so you don't have easy access. Maybe it's their archives or somewhere, but it was there and it was withdrawn very quickly. So those are the signs. The signs. That's when you have this doubleness. It's most dangerous, very dangerous. Because always they want to prevent the outflanking and the exposure that we are bringing to them. Always, so they have to answer our accusation that you know, they are not fighting anymore. They have to answer it, and so their answer is this declaration of the 27th. But no, well, we say you have to vomit the poison. You got to do a cleanup. You've got to burn what you have adored. You have to make retrace your step and point the finger on what was wrong, what was said, which was so wrong. Otherwise, then the double speech is maintained. You got a parallel double speech, which basically is you know, like John Paul II and Benedict XVI. You know, they have their good moments sometimes, I would say. So not many. You know, which one do I remember? I don't know. John Paul II, for instance, gave one day a text that you know, very forceful, that women cannot be priests. Is that true or false, that women cannot be priests? Yeah, it's true. So, but does it clear John Paul II on the scandal of Assisi? No. That's the whole problem with the Fraternity of St. Peter, is that they only show those traditional looking statements of the new papacy. But that's a modern democracy there. In modern democracy, you are invited to sit there with your own opinions, with all the other array of opinions. That's modern liberal democracy. And that's not the Catholic way. The Catholic way, the Catholic Church has an entire message. You cannot remove one item. All the items must be there. That's the way it is. Because everything is meshed together. Everything hangs. It's like a chain. A chain. You just need to break one ring of the chain, and then the chain is broken. But you know, you're not going to tell me no, the rest of the chain is fine. It's just one ring. No, it suffices to break one ring to break a chain. Just one ring. But you know, we all make mistakes. Yes, fine, we all make mistakes, and I do make mistakes. You know, I falsely believed. You know, Father Pfeiffer told me, you know, Father, you were wrong. You said the general chapter is going to solve everything, and then you know, it's going to be good. And it went very wrong. So I was wrong to foretell that the general chapter was going to solve everything. Father Pfeiffer was right. So we all make mistakes. You know, but when the mistake is made, you just say, this was a mistake. I was wrong to say this. It can happen, because we are human beings after all. So when we make a mistake, well, we can say, yeah, I was wrong to say. But you don't cover the mistake. That's Calvinism. You don't cover the mistake by something good. That thing must be taken away. It's like when the priest grants absolution, your sin is wiped out, taken away, not covered up. So you see the difference, and that's what we fear with those reinsurance. It's covering. It's you know, it's a facade. There is the germs, the active elements of its destruction are still there. and they are in place. But sometimes the tail is there, you know, like Father Stellin, who puts all the ordination ceremonies of Vigratsbad, Griscigliano, and the seminary of the Fraternity of St. Peter in the US and everything. He puts them all in the same bag. So an outcry comes, and then whoosh, they withdraw it, you know. But we saw the tail, and it was there for 6 or 7 days. If there was no outcry, that thing would still be there. But because there was an outcry, because the devil was caught in the act, well, he withdraws it. The devil is not crazy. He's doing his job. And then comes the reassurance, why do you accuse us, of collaborating with the other Ecclesia Dei when we are not, we are against them. But that's what it is. That's right there. So we have to keep our eyes more open than ever before, because as we are advancing in the history of the Church, heresies are always more snider than before. Because basically the devil has put under attack all the points of the creed. The creed that we recite tomorrow, it's an answer to all the heresies until 325. It was the symbol of Nicaea is written. Every phrase of the symbol of Nicaea corresponds to a heresy, which is refuted by this phrase, which is countered by this phrase. So since all points of dogmas have been put into question by the devil always has to come with something else. And as the time goes by, it becomes more subtle, more difficult. But that's the way it is. And why do we deserve such a fine heresy as liberalism of today? It's because people deserve it. I would say most of the people are not in love with the truth, and they simply want to. They don't want to merit. They don't want to fight. They don't want to stand against the world of today. And that's why there is such a subtlety, that's why God has allowed us to have such a subtle and smart enemy. That's why Don Bosco said to the ladies, they were congratulating him that he was very strong against the devil. He says, no, he's very smart. He's very good at what he does. He's very subtle. And so let us ask St. Peter and Paul to have this stability in the truth that they had. And they understood, no matter what the consequences were, especially St. Paul, but also St. Peter. St. Peter, I would say, most beautifully in the sense that he's even more, with his weaknesses, he gives us a great hope. That, even though sometimes we can veer off, it doesn't matter, St. Peter was able always to correct and stand strongly, until he died on his cross in a circus of Nero at the foot of the Vatican Hill. And let us ask Our Lady also to understand that she's all white. Her whiteness, said Archbishop Lefebvre, should be the foundation for our entire liberalness. That when we see something which is wrong, which is objectively wrong, we must reject it. It is not because if there is a little mark of grey there on the white robe of Our Lady, she's not going to allow it. The same thing for the teaching of the Catholic faith. It must be entirely there, and it must be all white. That otherwise we do not pass the test, and it's difficult. It's not. I don't think it's very easy, and we should tremble ourselves, because if the mighty have fallen in the mountains of Jelboe, what about the dejects that we are? We can fall just the same. Why do we see clearly? With our little eyes, it's a great mystery. Why do we see clearly? Why the mighty are silent? those whom we were expecting to stand. Why us? You know, maybe it's because we are too small and then the bullets are flying overhead. I remember a priest told me, I thank God because I am not all that smart. I remember all those smart priests and they all fell. So better, better lay low, better, really lay low. And we are pretty low. We are, you tell me about the politics here, we are already, very, very little and very weak, extremely weak. That's how the Church of Philadelphia is described. I know you, and that you labor much, yes, and you have a little strength, little paucem virtutem abes. You have a little strength, little power. That's us. We have very little strength. We are very, very small and very, very weak. Let us keep our eyes on this as well. Let us glorify in our infirmities, in the fact that we are a small quantity. And small quantity, how do you translate small quantity in Latin? And how do you make it to the in a form of name? Well, in Latin it gives you the name of Paul, Paulus. In English, Saint Paul. That sounds strong, but in Latin it means small quantity. So when you ask Saint Paul in Latin, you ask him, small quantity, what time is the Mass? And a small quantity would reply, well, the Mass is at 6:30, And after that, there'll be a few questions that you can ask to small quantity. That's how he wanted to be called. Small quantity. What a very strange name. And aren't we a small quantity tonight? We are. The answer is absolutely yes. This is what we are. We are truly Paulinian in our approach. We are. It's just such a tiny thing. And so let us keep our eyes on this reality. How small, how little we are. How insignificant we are. Because tradition had started to grow, and most probably we started to take ourselves too seriously, and that's not good. That's the beginning of the troubles. When God sees that, that we think that we are something when we are nothing, and what's the guarantee that we will continue to consider ourselves as nothing? There is no guarantee for that. There is no guarantee for our perseverance. Only when we shall make it, only when we enter into heaven, then we will know. But until then, nothing is in the bag. We have got no guarantee that we will continue the way we are. And that what we say today could be of our use today, but somebody else may make use of it while we fall. And that message, the Catholic message, will keep on going from one pontoon to the next until the end of times, but with us thrown on the wayside. That's very possible, because this is what we are. We have got no guarantee that we shall be faithful to what we are saying today. No guarantee. If the mighty have fallen that way, how much more us, who are so little and devoid of strength, how much more us are liable to fall as well, and worse than they fell. So let us remain like little kids under the mantle of she who is all white, all pure and all perfect. In the name of the Father and the Son and Holy Ghost. Amen.